But first, here is another question. What do all these, let's show the picture, what do all these alleged mistresses of Tiger Woods share in common? Like Tiger's gorgeous blonde Swedish wife, they are all white. Up until now, most of the talk about Tiger's still unfolding scandal has revolved around its impact on his marriage, his multi-million-dollar endorsement deals, and whether it will affect his golf game. But in the black community, as a terrific piece by Jesse Washington of the Associated Press makes clear this morning, from barbershops to urban radio, Tiger Woods' already tenuous standing among African Americans is taking a beating. There's even a parody song playing on Tom Joyner's national radio show. Listen.
They say your wifey whooped your butt. They say she beat your ass with a golf club and left your face cut up, Mr. Woods. Well, thankfully, Tiger, you didn't marry a black woman, because if a sister caught you running around with a bunch of white hoochie mamas, she'd slice off both your But you know, Tiger, the question everyone in America is dying to ask you is, how many white women does one brother want? Yeah!
Ouch, ouch, ouch. So how does the scandal affect his standing among African Americans, especially women? And given the sensitivity of many large corporations to racial issues, will that have a negative impact on the market value of the world's greatest athlete? Juan Williams and I are joined by our newest colleague. He is Stephen A. Smith, formerly of ESPN, soon to be host on Fox Sports Radio. Welcome aboard, Stephen. So what do you think? How will it impact his corporate marketability, given that, what if there's some kind of protest movement against him from the African-American community?
Well, I don't think it helps him, but at the same time, Geraldo, I don't think it's going to have a profound impact simply because that's not the targeted demographic. The reality is that even though obviously women are a huge consumer when it comes to some of the products that Tiger Woods push, it's really towards the male populace, not to mention the fact that as long as he goes out on a golf course and he wins, at the end of the day, those men that he targeted are going to say to themselves, this is a 33-year-old guy who's made over $1 billion in his career. I didn't expect him to be with one woman anyway, and they're not going to be worried about it, and it's not really going to affect them because of that fact.
Well, let me ask you an honest question, Stephen. Did you even think of his bad or tenuous relations with the black community? Was that anything that even came to mind? Because obviously golf is the whitest sport there is out there.
Well, you appreciate Tiger Woods because he's a pioneer in terms of African-American profile in the sport of golf, because African-Americans have long felt ostracized from that sport. But the reality is, again, Tiger Woods never really identified himself as a black man. And even though we all know that he is, that's really the problem that the African-American community had with him, his unwillingness to verbalize his affinity, his affection, and his connection to the African-American community. So this latest incident is just fodder for people within the black community who already had a problem with him to speak against him. But at the end of the day, again, it's not going to affect his marketability because, again, he wasn't selling sneakers to them anyway, like a guy like Michael Jordan was.
Juan Williams, let's say, look at our president. Look at this correspondent. We are mixed race, so to speak, proudly identifying with all of our various component parts. The president is accepted in the black community. Is it because of Michelle Obama? Is it because of the First Lady? Is it because, unlike Tiger Woods, he, proudly associates? What is it?
Well, I think Michelle Obama is a big plus for Barack Obama in the black community. And there's a whole argument about the fact that Michelle Obama's family has direct roots in terms of the slave experience in the United States. Barack Obama's family does not. And that in so many ways, Michelle Obama draws the black community to the president. But thinking about what's going on with Tiger Woods, I'm reminded of what happened, in terms of, Jimmy Brown, the great running back once for the Cleveland Browns, of course, great athlete, who went after Tiger Woods and says he hasn't done enough in terms of reaching out to the black community because, Stephen A. Smith is right. Tiger calls himself Calibrasian. He's Caucasian, Asian, Indian, black. He's all of that. But the fact is, the way I see Tiger Woods is he's a black man in America. I think, the old standard, if a cab came along, they'd say, hey, that's a black guy standing on the corner before they noticed that he was Tiger Woods. And if you look at the fact of, as you point out, Geraldo, golf's rather exclusive, the country club situation, people took a great deal of pride in that. Now, black women are not the target audience for this. But you know what? There's going to be a lot of talk. There's going to be a lot of nasty comments about, they would have done a Lorena Bobbitt on him if it was a black woman who found him cheating with these white women. But I just don't think this has much staying power. I think it's a lot of talk, a lot of gas, but I don't think it makes a lot of difference.
Stephen, final thought?
Well, I completely agree with Juan. The reality is, again, first of all, Tiger has always been seen with a white woman. When he elected to marry a white woman, it was no surprise to anybody within the black community. People like myself and Juan, I'm sure, feel to each his own. You do whatever you want. Who you fall in love with is who you fall in love with. But the female populace within the black community feels entirely differently when it comes to a particular situation like this, because he's a billionaire. And to a lot of people within the white community, he isn't perceived as a black man. So his unwillingness to verbalize, quote unquote, his blackness, combined with the fact that white people weren't looking at him as a typical black man because he wasn't typical, pretty much serves to alienate him from a community that already felt distance from him to begin with. That's really what this comes down to.
I would just add, for a lot of black women, they look at black men, especially successful black men, and he's super successful for any race of man, and they say, hey, listen, how come successful black men don't stay home? Because what they're looking at the fact that so many black men in this country, ill-educated, in jail, et cetera, why doesn't the successful ones, take care of black women? A lot of black women single, high number of black women having children out of wedlock, never get married. And I think that it taps into that sense of discontent, which is very real in our community.
Very real. And, let me quip, he's a black and blue man after she took the wedge to him. But Stephen A. Smith, again, welcome aboard. Juan Williams, thank you, as always.
You're welcome, Geraldo.